Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Mountaineer Postgame Show. I'm Schuyler, Callihan. That's Christopher Hall. West Virginia suffering their first loss of the season in a blowout fashion, that is, in the Backyard Brawl, 86-62. West Virginia has a six-game winning streak in this series and now have dropped the last two. Last year, obviously, with interim head coach Josh Schuyler, a banged-up roster due to injuries, eligibility issues. This year, it's a whole new staff, whole new team. So really, these last two losses for West Virginia in this rivalry have you kind of put a little asterisk beside them. I know Pitt fans probably don't want to hear that, but I mean, it's just being the God honest truth here. This is still kind of a program that's trying to get back on the right footing. But Chris, before we dive into our analysis, go ahead and look here at the numbers. Tucker DeVries, just an absolutely cold night for him. 2 of 10 from the field. Finished the night with just 6 points and 3 rebounds. Javon Small led West Virginia with 12 points. And for Pitt, it was Damian Dunn who had 23 on 7 of 12 shooting, 4 of 7 from the field. West Virginia went 6 of 29 from three-point range, which is definitely not going to bode well for them if they continue to shoot it at that percentage. And then the free throw discrepancy, West Virginia only goes 8 of 15, while Pitt goes 20 of 26. A lot of fouls there in the second half. Amani Hansberry fouls out halfway through the second half. Tucker DeVries fouls out. It was just a little bit of a foul here and a foul there for the Mountaineers tonight in that second half.
Yeah, and really, it was really about the first half, and Pitt really controlled the game from there. If you look at it, Pitt Pitt only had 3 fouls in the first half, and really, yes, officiating was questionable at times, but really, it was West Virginia not creating enough contact. They did drive to the lane, but didn't create the context needed to draw those fouls. And when the shooting is as poor as it was, you got to find other ways to score. I mean, this early in the season, you just don't have enough. Um, don't have enough sample size, don't have enough games under their belt to really kind of manufacture points when things aren't going well. This is definitely will be, watch this tape and you can really learn a lot from it with this group because, they missed open balls. Like that shooting was horrendous. Pitt, on the other hand, in the first half couldn't miss. Even if it got in their face, they were throwing stuff up and it went in. So it was really that kind of night. You start off the Hansberry flagrant one, which I didn't really get a good look at it, but it's
A little
kind of
questionable on the TV.
kind of interesting there. But that was just kind of what kind of was going on for the night. It just wasn't West Virginia's night. And again, yes, there was a big foul discrepancy, but West Virginia wasn't doing anything great fouls. But it was interesting in the second half when they called some of those fouls. They could have called them in the first half. They could have called a lot of illegal screens. But again, you can nitpick that all day. When you shoot 10 of 30 in the first half and we're down by, what was it, 22 by
Yeah.
halftime, I don't think the fouls were really the difference.
No.
It was more them not creating the fouls and not really looking at the rebound discrepancy either. I think it was 45 to 32. They caught up a little bit there in the second half. That's just missing a bunch of shots. So I thought they did better rebounding when you kind of look at Pitt. Only 8 offensive rebounds. West Virginia's 5. There's not really a big discrepancy there. But again, you make some of those open looks. I mean, it was so bad. Connie missed the rim on 2 free throws. But I'm not sure if it was just this team and this atmosphere this early in the season kind of got a hold of them early. They didn't really play. I won't say they didn't play with energy, but they didn't have that same step they've had offensively that we've seen in the first 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, when they struggled from deep, you kind of knew that there was a chance it was going to be a long night. I said that in our score prediction article that if they were going to win this game, they were going to have to make shots from deep to be able to kind of compensate from that size disadvantage that they would have in this game against Pitt, who's got the Diaz Graham twins. They got Cohen. I mean, they've got Zach Austin. I mean, they've got a lot of bigs down there that can really bang underneath, and West Virginia just doesn't have that. So you need to have that outside shooting to kind of make up for it. They go 0 for 8, I believe, to start the game. I think 2 of 13 in the first half, if memory serves me correct. And they just kind of kept going with it. And for whatever reason, I know that that's kind of their bread and butter. It's kind of their do or die right now because they don't have that front court piece, but they've got to be able to find ways to get to the basket, like you said, whether that's a penetrating kick or just getting paint touches. I mean, I still felt like even though they weren't taking shots at the rim, they weren't even getting the ball inside the paint. And when you don't have paint touches, I mean, the ball just lives around around the perimeter. You're going to have a stagnant offense when it's just living on the outside. You've got to be able to get it inside. And I felt like that was really the biggest issue with the offense. Defensively, they had open looks, but I think a lot of it just came from the double teams and not having that backside rotation. There were so many times in that first half, really, where at least it felt noticeable to me, where they would bring a double team and then the guys on the opposite side weren't rotating and it would leave a wide open Panther on a 3 point line. And you can't leave this team wide open like that. They're going to knock those shots down and make you pay for it 9 times out of 10, and that's what happened. That's what allowed them to get out to the big lead. But I just felt like defensively they were pretty disjointed, which is a little surprising because we hadn't seen that in the first two games, hadn't seen it again in the preseason game, and I understand against lesser competition. But when you're a new team that has this many new pieces, it's a little easier to play more successfully on the defensive end than it is on the offensive end. It's still going to take time for you to improve together as a unit defensively, but defensively is kind of where you got to make your hay early on.
Yeah, just like on the offensive floor, they were just slow. Seemed to be a little bit of confusion, and again, just goes back. It's only the third game of the year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you don't get these guys in December this year. Maybe it's a little different. But then again, maybe not because Pitt's been shooting the ball well all season long and continued tonight. And you can kind of see why. And again, it goes back to when they had a hand in the face, they're still making shots. So what do you do at that point? I mean, you just it becomes a little overwhelming, and they got it going. So yeah, you just kind of got to chalk this up to an early season loss. Sucks it's against Pitt, but at the end of the day, I think there's still plenty of pieces for this team to win some, some bigger notable games. Of getting the Big 12 play. They'll have a big test here in about a week and a half when they play Gonzaga in the Bahamas tournament. So, they'll have to make some huge adjustments before they get there. But I'll be curious to see how they bounce back Wednesday night and see what they can do offensively. See if they can add some new things to where they struggled tonight, so they're not constantly relying on threes because it just seemed right off the bat they were overwhelmed. I think Hansberry getting in foul trouble throughout most of the game hurt them a lot, and wasn't really able to get a lot of those touches maybe in the paint. So let's just kind of see where it goes from here. Just
Yeah.
one of those nights where it was just a bad night. It's a shame it has to happen in your rivalry game. But you have to credit Pitt as well. Because again, they shot the ball. They've been shooting the ball well all season long, and they showed it tonight.
Yeah. I
They
mean, I
didn't miss
think,
open. I don't think they really missed an open shot all night. So when they had
no.
their open opportunities, they hit them. West Virginia did not. How many times have we said that over the years
Yeah.
against them last year? They just weren't making shots, and that's kind of what it is right now. Like, if you're not making shots, you got to find ways. And Pitt kind of let them at times run the bait and didn't create contact. It just made them shoot over. You mentioned the lane that they had on West Virginia. That's just kind of what was their game plan, and it worked. And I think West Virginia at times was kind of expecting contact, and you could see the ball went long on some of those shots around the rim. Yes, they're tougher shots, but shouldn't have been that far off.
Yeah, I was every time Pitt was heaving one up from three, you just kind of knew, like, all right, this one's going in. Just waiting for the crowd reaction. It just felt like everything they were throwing up was basically a ball going into the ocean for
The
them.
most crazy is
Uh,
they finished 10 of 27 from three, but for most of
yeah,
the first half, they were 50% from three. And it's when you're building a 20 point, that's pretty much how they built their 20-point lead.
exactly. And one of my biggest concerns for this team coming into the year was who's going to be that number two scorer, who's going to be that number three scorer,
Well, your
and
number one scorer didn't shoot
And
well.
and that's and this is exactly why I'm bringing this up because when Tucker has a night like this, and it's not going to be the last time. There's going to be a lot of nights in the Big 12 probably where he's going to be shut out, and they're going to need someone else to step up. Again, Javon, he had 12 points, but I mean it is what it is. They have to have another score emerge, and whether that's Javon Small or somebody else, they need really two guys in case another night like this happens from Tucker because they can't just put all their eggs in one basket and have it fall through if DeVries has an off night and you're searching for offensive answers. So they've got to find that offensive answer. Hopefully they can find it next week at some point or the next 2 weeks before Big 12 conference play starts. But yeah, like you said, Chris, like this is the third game of the year. It's a tough game to play when you have this many new pieces, a whole new coaching staff. We're not trying to make excuses. We're just spitting out the facts here. Like, if this was a Bob Huggins coach team and he's been around for a while, you have a lot of veteran players, probably doesn't make a big difference. You probably have a much different result. But when you have this much turnover, both staff and personnel, this is kind of what you get in the third game of the year. Pitt's not in that same situation. They've been around building around Jeff Capel for, I believe, what, 6 or 7 years now. So they're finally starting to get that thing going. They've won 20 plus games 2 years in a row. This is a tournament caliber team in Pitt. So it's nothing to kind of hang your head about, but there's definitely some things you need to figure out here soon before the road gets really tough. So final thoughts, Chris, before we get out of here.
Hopefully they shoot better.
Bringing a hug
and find ways to score, because I don't know if it was just they don't have enough, but they just looked slow tonight. They just didn't look ready to play. Maybe it was the atmosphere.
It did look like they didn't have that extra bounce in their step.
Yeah, so I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just them being all new together in this type of atmosphere. Pitt has obviously some cool people back that returned it here, and kind of seemed like it was a difference. And again, they just felt well. So again, always sucks losing the Pitt, but at the end of the day, they might as well enjoy it while you can. To put asterisks next to it, because Jonathan Powell's going to be back. KJ Tanner, those are two freshmen that really were poised tonight, and they're going to remember all those chants and the very loud profanity during that Hansberry flagrant foul. Y'all never understand what's getting. You get called that, and you're going to go stand with them on Sunday to cheer on with the Steelers. So it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the beast. But it is what it is. 86-62. Again, your final score. Pitt taking the 191st edition of the Backyard Brawl. Me and Chris had this back and forth all day long trying to figure out what game it actually was in the series. But it's 191st. West Virginia still leads the series pretty comfortably.
There was no back and forth. One of us was wrong.
Yeah. Well, technically somebody at WVU is wrong because the site has it wrong, but somebody in the game notes actually had it right. So somebody's going to get fired. I don't know who it is.
Messerly never gets it wrong. Messerly never gets it wrong.
So, again, 86-62 your final score. West Virginia won't be back in action again until next Wednesday when they return home to take on the Iona Gales. That one will tip off at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Follow us at SI_WVU on X. And Eugene and I will be here tomorrow to recap West Virginia and Baylor. That game kicking off at 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. So we'll have the recap for that. We'll have the morning after with Chris discussing the game against the Baylor Bears. And that'll be it for the weekend. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Take care.